everybody. Welcome back to another Cartonize 2025 session featuring Chris Parayanor from Aptian. Super excited to have him here. Been blown away by how big the group is that's been following session by session ever since the keynote this morning. But if you're new here, just brief housekeeping. This session, like all the others, will be recorded and sent to you via email within 24 hours after we wrap tonight. Please use the Ask Questions box you see on your screen. It makes the conversation double interesting to have you guys weigh in and ask questions, or feel free to use the reaction buttons on the screen as well. At the conclusion of this session, you'll see a bright pink pop-up that allows you to join the next. And if you have any trouble with that, refresh your screen and you should be able to get through. So without further ado, Chris, I'm going to turn this over to you and let you take it from here, and I'll see you for the Q&A at the end.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thanks, James. So welcome, everyone. Very excited to share this with you guys today. Just wanted to make sure that this session, Cartonize 2025 Precision at Pace. I'm very excited about this specific piece because this is something that I've been working on. I had the opportunity to do this at a client about 3-4 years ago, and then the interest and the need for this has been very, very significant since. So definitely a key feature of our product at this point, and I'm happy to share what that looks like today. So real quick, just to make sure that that you are seeing the right screen of just the agenda slide. Right. So at this point, I just wanted to make sure that you have a good sense of where we are. At first, I just want to lay out the problem, what the actual business need is that we're trying to solve, the solution itself. Just go over the Aptian plus Paccurate partnership and how it plays. Do a quick product demo and talk about what's next and what's a nicer way to do this in the future, and also then get down into the Q&A and additional contact on how you can reach out to us if you need to know more about this. Okay, so let's dive right into the problem itself. So what is it that we're trying to solve, right? Let's talk about the first component of the problem, accuracy. There are plenty of stats out there, but I wanted to collect a few of these numbers that make a lot of sense to us. Right? When you're fulfilling an order, when you're shipping an order out the door, 23% of the returns were due to shipping the wrong item to customers. Right? Over half of order errors, up to 65%, were fulfillment errors. You just got it wrong. Wrong quantities, wrong items. And the average cost of these errors is up to $25 when you're accounting for dissatisfaction, lost sales, labor for reshipping it, and so on. So there's industry stats out there that you absolutely need to make sure that when you're shipping an order, you're shipping it right. Now, this gets compounded when this process needs to be in a B2C environment, where your count is higher, right? And your margins are lower. And it's really, really critical that you need to get right because the cost of quality there is very high. Now, that's one side of it, the equation. From another side of the equation, you're looking at, what is the cost of efficiency, right? So what is the cost of shipping air? So according to 2023 study, the average box in an e-commerce fulfillment was only filled to about 60 to 65% capacity. So you were pretty much shipping 40% air, right? Why are you paying for air? And we all know what the dimensional factor is and how that is accounted for. And we know what the dim factor is now with all the parcel carriers, right? So what does that account for in terms of your increase in spend? And you think it's a 5-pound box. Is it really a 5-pound box, or is it 7 pounds, 8 pounds, 10 pounds? So up to 25% increase in cost because of shipping air. How much of that is improper packaging, right? So 25% of our damages are due to improper packaging. So are you really factoring sufficient padding when packing, and are you overpacking, right? Those are also components that you need to consider. And the other piece is, how are you determining how you're packing your product? Right? That's the other key piece, is you need to make sure that there's a system that's telling you to do it. That's where Paccurate comes into play, right? I mean, a human determination of how to ship, that expert that you think that you have out on the dock, tends to be 45% slower than what a system can and system is able to do, and definitely a lot less efficient than what a system can do. So that's where we think, Appian plus Paccurate, that's the bottom line, that's the solution. You basically, all you're trying to do is make sure that you ship every order and every item accurately, right? You know what's in every box, you know how to pack the box, and you do all of this without typing, keystrokes, mouse clicks. That's the whole bottom line. Do it easy. It's a lot easier to do it when you rely on a system to do it. Not necessarily 100%, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but basically you're relying on the system to do this for you in a very easy way, so you get it almost right almost all the time, with allowing exceptions and allowing humans to intervene only on an exception basis, right? Management by exceptions. So that's the bottom line. Okay, so what does the solution look like? So let me go over with you what I'd like to do, show you in a demo. So what you're going to be looking at now, and what I'd like to share, is a demo of what happens in a shipping station, right? So we've talked about theory, right? We're like, okay, let's ship an order, let's have it accurate. So picture yourself as a packer at a shipping station. That's what I'm going to be doing a demo. So let me just go over with you what I'm going to be demoing. So when you see the demo, you have context to it. So picture that I'm a packer. I actually have a packing list with me, and I actually have just a bunch of barcodes. So I'm going to pretend that I'm a packer. I'm at a shipping station, and I'm going to fulfill an order, right? So you're going to see an order that pop up with additional information. It's going to have items. It's going to have a carton. So basically, order items, pack it in a box, seal it, pack it in another box, seal it, and ship it. So that's going to be the play that we're going to do. How does it really work? Basically, the workflow is, I'm going to scan the order from a pick ticket. The system is going to say, here's how you need to pack it. So identify the packing option, scan the items. So that's a verified piece. So every SKU, every UPC code, if you will be scanned as I'm placing it into a box, the box that the system recommends. I scan the box, I scan the carton code to confirm that that's the box that I'm using, and I scan a special code that says I'm done. Right, so that's the overall process. Right, so hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to switch gears now, share my screen, then actually perform this workflow. Okay. Okay, so this is part of the Appian TMS. Appian TMS has several modules, multiple ways to ship an order. I just wanted to share one little component of it, the Pack Verify module. This is pretty much what I mentioned here. The TMS in general, we ship everything from, we help shippers ship everything from overnight letters to ocean containers. It's a very comprehensive tool, but again, this is what we talked about in terms of Pack Verify. So again, back to the role play, right? I'm a shipper, I'm at a shipping station. How do we make sure that the order is getting shipped both complete and accurate at the same time, right? So scan the pick ticket, scan the order number, it automatically now pulls in all the order information, right? It says, and here's the customer that I'm shipping to, the ship from, ship to, and to the right here, this is key. You're now seeing how it's gonna get shipped. So it's saying Paccurate powered information on, it's saying, okay, place that item into that box. Right? So as you can see here on this screen to the left-hand side, it's now identified that I've packed 4 items, right? There's 4, I'm sorry, packed 1 item, there's 4 remaining. And as I'm scanning that item that I'm packing, it's gonna mark that complete. So as you can see here, that turns green. And as I scan the carton code, that says packed fully. Right? So that's the overall process. and then one last scan of, yes, I'm done with it. Go ahead and print the label, and off we go. So that's your overall pack verify process. It tells you how to pack it. You're done with that shipment and on to the next. Now, what would happen in real world? It prints a parcel label. It prints a parcel label, and then you apply those labels. Any custom labels it needed, prints them, apply them, and you're done. Right? So that's the overall end-to-end process. Hopefully that made a lot of sense. I'm going to go ahead and show you another version of this, of the same tool, the Pack Verify tool. What if you're not following the rules as is, right? So let's say there's another order that I'm going to pack, right? So I pull up the order the same way. In this case, this order contains, oh, there you go. Yeah. A slightly different UI variation. We started a pop-up saying, hey, this is the pack plan without the fancy, images that Paccurate provides. But yeah, basically a scan, it says the instructions right there in text, scan one of that item in this carton. Oops, so there you go. What if I didn't pack in that, the shipment was not packed to plan? Help us improve, let us know why there was a deviation. Maybe your master carton data was not accurate. Right, invalid carton code. Somebody made a mistake somewhere, I guess. So this does allow for deviations if needed. You improve the algorithm. You also make sure that there's a human intelligence that is not discounted in the overall process, right? So fundamentally, that's the, so switching gears, right back to our presentation. So, yeah, so switching gears, that's the overall process that we are aiming to do, right? So just wanted to do that in a demo, show you guys how that works. Now, real world success story here. This exact process done manually was 32 seconds per carton. It was actually measured at 32 seconds per carton. We optimized it to 12 seconds. So that's an entire FTE for this client. Real world example of one FTE saved just because of the flow that we optimized and the Pack Verify process that we did. Right? So that's kind of just to give you an overview of what's happening today with us, right? With our tool, what is being done, how it's being used. I also have my own personal opinion on how we can additionally improve this. One of the roadmap items that we have on our tool is to deploy this potentially with an RFID scanner. So the next gen version of this, right? So instead of scanning the barcode, which you saw me do, ideally, again, if there's someone in the audience that we would like to do this with, that'd be fantastic. You basically take your crate with all the picks, right? You take the carton. RFID these days is a lot less expensive, right? So we would just put all of those items right in the carton, and the system would in real time tell you what you're doing and what you could do better. So in other words, do the whole thing, the Pack Verify without a single barcode scan. You probably want to scan the pick ticket or the order number from the pick ticket once just to load the order. But after that, everything could be RFID based. And it's almost like an instant, right? Like an instant validation or an instant verification that happens through the system. Again, inexpensive, how inexpensive RFIDs have gotten. I think it's a great way for us to enhance this and get this implemented. Right. So that's, very thrilled to see if there's clients out there that are interested in doing this. But yeah, it's feasible. So yeah, basically instant verification, scan, identify, place, not scan each one, place, repeat until complete, and you're done. Last but not the least, I think it's really important for us to recognize where this fits and what it's not a fit for, right? This is not a solution if you're shipping freight. So, but before that, let me talk about where it really works and works really well. If you're a heavy B2C shipper, if you're a high volume B2C shipper, and you either have a product that is really important for you to be a high value product, right? I had a customer that ships PCBs, circuit boards to labs, very high value items, and they're small. It's very easy to miss them. It's very easy to misplace, misship them. So things like these are perfect fit for a pack RFID process. Or you have low margins, right? Expensive returns. You can't afford to not ship a kit together because every single unit within that order needs to all go together, right? Ship completes. Those are great examples of use of this solution. It's a high volume solution. Again, low labor capacity, high volume, non-standard packaging. That's another key thing, right? For you to be able to optimize packaging, you need to have a good variation in your mix. If you're shipping cases and everything is a standard case, we're not solving much there. But I think most of us these days, even if you have standard cases, is there an opportunity to improve that is a key question. So again, personally, I'd like to make sure that anything that we solve, the problem, is justified, right? So we need to make sure that the problem is justified. I think there's a huge case for this in several of our shippers. So it's definitely need to make sure to, we should check that there's a fit. Not necessarily a great fit if there's a SLAM process. If you're, you scan, label, apply, automation, right? The high automation, not necessarily a fit there. If there's a heavy freight level of shipping, again, we do have a pallet verify process, but not necessarily the same, flow that you looked at today, right? And again, standard packaging, carton packs, as I mentioned, not a great fit. So that pretty much concludes my presentation, and I definitely wanted to give a lot of time for Q&A and additional discussions. So with that in mind, I'd like to pause at this point in time and catch back up and review questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chris. I'd call you a extremely practical technologist. You're the only session today that had a live product demo and came right out of the gate focusing on who this isn't right for. So I really appreciate the practicality there, and appreciate you taking the time to show off, the implementation. It's really slick. So I see some questions coming in. To Chris's point, we do have a couple extra minutes, so if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. We'll start off with this one. For companies considering what KPIs or metrics should they start tracking to evaluate whether the solution is delivering on its promise? That's a good question. Can you comment on that, Chris?
Well, I wish I actually had this picture as, that's a phenomenal question, right? So I wish I had this picture of this client. Unfortunately, my non-disclosures prevent me from doing so. I'm still debating if it's a good thing to do, but there's a gamification of the pack process that you could do right out of the stool. So, it is, I think, if done right, it's a great tool to motivate the team. I've seen this now in multiple warehouses where there's a monitor that has a packs per hour, and then you have a target, and then there's like a nice superhero logo that pops up if they go above the target, and that makes the actual packers feel really good. So I think gamification, packs per hour, I think is a great measurement. Clearly, your returns ratio. If you're not measuring your returns ratio now, I think that's something that you should do, even if you're not using a pack verify process. Your returns ratio, that should drop as soon as you incorporate a process like this. Basically, number of returns and classification of returns, the types of errors, are they product quality errors or shipment errors? I mean, these are things that really do need to be tracked. I'm assuming that are being tracked at a customer service levels, but those would be, I think, the basics of this. The key metric that this drives down is order fulfillment accuracy. So I would say that's returns per order or returns per 100 orders. I think is a good number to look at, and obviously see that drop.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love the gamification idea. It can be, let's just be honest, it can be kind of a tedious, for lack of the better word, like place in the warehouse as an operator. So anything to like inject a little bit of entertainment is probably a good thing.
Absolutely. I mean, the warehouses that I've seen, that it's amazing that the workers welcome it. I mean, it's a nice, fun, thing for them to do. And I actually more recently, I was at a Canadian warehouse where it was teams against teams. So it was not like an individual, and that almost made it even better, right? I mean, they were very loyal to their team, and they were trying to, it really had a positive impact on productivity, it was just fascinating to see that. But yeah, just gamification of it was like phenomenal.
That's great. We got another question here. I think they're talking about who the solution is not right for, which you went into a little bit. Companies that want to adopt this tech where it's actually a bad fit, how do you guide them through that?
Yeah, so I think I'll give you another example of this, James. So I think a great example of companies wanting to automate, for instance, right? It's related to what we talked about today, but not exactly the same. There are 3D measurement stations that companies tend to buy sometimes in a packing environment, and they end up doing that despite using standard box sizes. So my question to them is, do you really need it? I mean, can you not just scan the carton code and get what the dimension of the carton is, right? So it's a standard, you're using 7 or 8 different box sizes. Why do you really need a 3D scanner? So I really think not just here, but in any solution that we adopt, we need to make sure that there's a fit. We need to make sure there's a value, and there actually is. And in trying to solve a problem, are we solving the right problem is a key question. The problem that we're discussing today is a very, very important one, right? I mean, packing efficiency is very important. Packaging in general is very important. I mean, are you making sure that when you're filling an order, is order fulfillment, is your product logistics aware? That's a key question that I'm not sure many are asking. When you're designing, design for logistics, that used to be a theoretical thing. It's not anymore. It's a big deal now. So I just want to make sure that we're focusing on the right problem. And I would say that it's important that we look at it that way and quantify it. I mean, everything's got to be quantified. What is the financial impact of it? How many products and how many orders is it affecting? So I would say we just have to think that through. And just because it looks cool doesn't mean we do it. There could be a simpler option that's just as effective, if not better.
Yeah. Like I said, practical approach. We may not need flying humanoid robots yet.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. Well, that is all the questions we have for the moment. I want to thank you, Chris, so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, taking the time coming and showing that off. I know there's some excitement right now with this thing being deployed. So hopefully, yes, there are NDAs. Hopefully we can find a user that's happy to kind of show off a little bit. And obviously we don't want to get into trouble by doing that on our own too soon. So that'll be the next project we work on together. So thank you so much, Chris. For everybody else, thank you for watching. Next session, there should be a bright pink pop-up that you can click on to get to the next one. I don't know if they fixed it yet today, but you may have to refresh the screen in order for the next session to start. But we've seen a big group going from session to session, so somebody's figured it out. Again, thank you so much, Chris, and have a great day.
Thanks, James. Great talking to you guys.